I feel like I haven't been making videos in a long time. Well, I've actually been posting piercing videos, I just haven't made these sort of videos where I just talk to you and go and explain different things regarding body piercing. And I've actually been really focused on making videos in Spanish mostly, since my business is in Mexico and Spanish is basically my first and only language that I speak nowadays. But here and there I do get English speaking clients, and one of my most viewed videos on Instagram, actually two of my most viewed videos on YouTube, are videos that were shot in English. One of them that just out of nowhere kind of exploded was, which almost to be expected. It was a female genital piercing, and in a month it got over 1 million views. And then my other video is my septum video, which I'm trying to make a follow-up video for it too. As soon as I get an English speaking client in here, I'll film it, I'll post it, and I'll have it there for you guys. The thing is that I haven't really been feeling like there's something specific that I want to talk about, and here and there I'll post on Instagram to ask me different things that you want me to answer in this channel. But the channel, it seems like it's been all over the place, and I haven't really found a specific timeline for it. So I'll post videos that are just the piercing procedure, then I'll post a video in Spanish talking about a specific subject, and then I'll post my videos from my weekend or whatever. So this is just my platform where I get to share my videos and anything that I do, anything that I feel worth sharing. So please just know that that's how it's going to be in this channel. But yeah, so today I'm going to try to focus on one thing and one thing only, and that is piercing aftercare. So with piercing aftercare, it's kind of tricky, because it's one of those things that all piercers sort of have different ideas on, and people will sort of fight over what's their best aftercare, or people will have a specific way to doing it, some others will have another one. And I summarize it with one acronym, which there's two ways of saying it, and I'll go with the PG-13 one, which is LITHA, and stands for Leave It the Hell Alone. And that's basically the main aftercare that I recommend. When I do a piercing, I'll just recommend my clients to not touch it, not move it, don't twist it, don't put anything on it. And one of the key things that I'll say to people, to my clients, when it comes to, because when people get a piercing, they just instantly want to do something to it, either touch it or move it or put ointment on it or put a soap or whatever remedy their friend tells them to put them on. And so my key thing that I'll tell clients is, don't put anything on your piercing that you wouldn't put directly on your eyeball. So that's really simple. So any soap, alcohol, peroxide, cleansers, whatever thing that you don't put directly on your eyeball, whatever thing that might irritate or hurt to put in your eyeball, don't put on your piercing. So really simple. If you go swimming in a pool, your eyes will get irritated. Don't go swimming with a fresh piercing. If you go in the ocean, your eyes will get irritated from the salt. Don't go in the ocean with a fresh piercing. You wouldn't put soap in your eyeballs. Don't put soap in your piercings. And the list just goes on. So that's it, really simple. Don't touch it, don't move it, don't put anything on it. Now, there's a couple other things that you can do to a piercing that will help. So when you first get the piercing might feel a little hot and a little throbby. So the first few days, what's gonna help the piercing. Also, the first few days you might have a little bit of swelling. So the first thing that you can do to a piercing is apply cold. So the only thing is that you want to keep it dry and you want to keep it clean. So the best thing to do is either get like a clean like ice pack, and maybe just put the ice pack on top of the piercing. It depends what piercing it is, but it's kind of tricky. But that's the first thing you can do. The first few days you can apply cold compress to the piercing. If possible, a dry compress. So this is kind of hard to explain, but basically if you get an ice pack or a bag of ice, you can wrap it in a clean, either a shirt or a towel or something like that, and then just apply it to your piercing, to the area. But here's the thing, you don't want to put too much pressure on the piercing. So that's where it gets kind of tricky. So if you can just leave it alone, that's going to be the best thing. But if you feel like it's getting a little too swollen, then you definitely could do like a clean, dry, cold compress on it. And then the other thing you can do is for the first few days, maybe first week, cold is going to help with the swelling. But then eventually, as your piercing heals and you start getting scabs or you start getting fluid discharge coming out of it, what's gonna help is actually the opposite, warmth. So what you can do is the same thing, dry and clean compress, but this time you can do them cold. You can do them hot. So the same principle applies. You can get like a towel and soak it in water, put it in the microwave, and just really heat it up, and then put it either in like a plastic bag or something like that, and it's clean, and then apply it to your piercing. And these are just kind of simple tips that you can do to help with your piercing. But the one thing that I recommend to my clients, and this is something that gets pretty tricky when it comes to other piercers, and for the longest time I've been a part of the industry, and I've been really always from the beginning trying to be with the current and not against it. But then it comes to a point, and I'm at that point where I've had my business for almost 5 years now, and I've been talking to my clients, and I've actually never been in one place this long. So here I've gone to really see how my piercings react, how my piercings heal, what works, what doesn't, in a way that I never got to do before, because for the first 12 years of my career, I had been sort of just traveling from one point to another, and I never stayed anywhere for over 2 years. So this has been like a really good opportunity for me to see how it works. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is that climate and weather and just overall your geographic location will have a big impact on your aftercare. So don't think that what I'm telling will apply to you if you live in Alaska, or if you live in the desert, or if you live, I don't know, wherever. So the aftercare that I'm telling you is what works for me and my clients here in this part of the world. Where I was trying to get to is the one thing that I recommend and that I've really worked with for a few years now, and it has worked great, is chamomile tea. Now, chamomile tea has been used for centuries here in Mexico. It's like a really well-known home remedy, and people use it all the time. If you wake up and you have puffy, irritated eyes, people will just make tea bags of chamomile tea and then just put them on their eyes, and that will help. People use them on wounds also. So it's just kind of a really common knowledge home remedy here that people use, and I've applied it and used it all through my career. And when I was working in the US, people were kind of hesitant about it and kind of not super stoked with it, but people did recommend using sea salt soaks. So people would ask their clients to make a sea salt solution at home with salt and water, and I just never really was a big fan of that aftercare. I think it's a little tricky to try to fully soak piercings, especially when you get to like you know, if you get a nape piercing or if you get a navel piercing, it's kind of tricky to soak it and leave it soaked. And then the other thing is that I feel really not great asking clients to make their own solution, because maybe they're not using the right measurements. They might be contaminating their whatever they're using to make it, either their cups or their spoons or their salt. So by the time they're making their solution, it might not be the cleanest. So I've always kind of stayed away from the sea salt soaks, but I understood like the essence of it. So for me, chamomile tea bags have worked great, because you can just make the tea, and then the tea bag itself you can just put on your piercing, or you can put on a nipple piercing, you can put in the back in your nape. It just seems really easy to use, and it seems to work really great. So this is pretty much what I've been using. This is what works for me. This is what I recommend my clients. But there's one last thing that I need to talk to you guys about, and when I talk about the sea salt soaks and I say that I understand the principle of it, I just don't think it's very clean for people to be making their own solutions. So now there's this, which is basically the sea salt solution, but it's sterile. It comes in a little bottle. It stays sterile inside the bottle, and it's just a mist that you can just irrigate your piercing with, and it's made by a legitimate medical company. And this way, you know that you're using a product that it's backed by a legitimate medical company. It comes in sterile, it stays sterile, it doesn't have any drugs, it doesn't have any preservative, it doesn't sting. So when I talk about when I said that whatever you wouldn't put in your eyeball, you wouldn't put in the piercing, well, saline is something that's safe to use in your eyeball. So that's basically what you use for contact lenses. So with this, what I recommend usually is in the first month, when piercings are a little throbby or a little irritated, people can just kind of use it to irrigate it and let it dry, like just let it drip. And then after the first month, once it starts getting scabby, I recommend soaking a Q-tip, just like completely soaking a Q-tip. And this is the only time that I recommend Q-tips, because Q-tips usually leave the little fibers on the scabs. So make sure you completely soak the Q-tip, and then you can use a Q-tip to remove whatever's like falling off crust-wise. Like, I don't recommend ever like picking completely the scab, especially if it's dry. But if it's really wet and you can see that you can clean off some scab from the jewelry, then you can go ahead and do that. But yeah, so that is basically the breakdown of my AFTERCARE. Leave it the hell alone. No touching, no moving, no rotating. Don't listen to your friends or your whoever that tells you to put peroxide or tea tree or whatever else that people tell you to put on your piercing. It's best to just leave it alone. And if you have gotten your piercing from a professional piercer with quality jewelry and a safe, sterile procedure, then you should be all good to go. Basically, you just need to make sure that you're healthy, that you're getting enough sleep, that you're hydrated, and your immune system will be able to take care of the piercing, no problem. For your body, this is just a really simple wound that has to heal. All you need to do is make sure that you're leaving it alone and that you're letting your body do its job. Your body is really good at doing this. It does it all the time. So as long as you're not just messing with the piercing, your piercing should heal with no problems. And now you have a couple extra tips if you are having issues with it. And again, this is just a basic AFTERCARE. There's a ton of other stuff that we could go into, but I just wanted to keep this video short and just go straight to the point. And if you need anything else, if you have any other questions, I'm always running out of ideas on making videos, and sometimes I'll get ideas and then I just don't follow through with them. But right now I'm at a point in my life where I really want to help you guys with your questions, with your issues, and whatever else there is going on piercing related, I guess I should specify. So please just let me know. Until next time, My name is Ruben Liu, and you can check out my Instagram and other social media in the link box below. And until next time.